the first question for you, Rath, is if someone's watching and is like, this could be for me, like this sounds interesting, I want to do more research, how would someone go about diving into leather culture?
So I always recommend going to Munches. You can find Munches usually by going on FetLife, cesspool that it is, and, navigating through all of that. But I would recommend just go to the events, and you can usually find events that are in your community that are going on. And if you're really interested in leather, look for the ones that are leather specific, and just go to a munch. Sometimes they're closed, so to only club members or to only family members or organization members or so on and so forth. But most leather clubs and leather organizations do have a open night where new people are allowed to attend. And I would highly encourage you to do that. If there's a leather event, like an actual convention going on, those are almost always friendly to newcomers. And there's a lot of one-on-one classes in leather history and culture, all of that stuff. And you'll just meet people. One thing that most people in the leather lifestyle love is to talk about leather. You will never, ever have someone go, yeah, I'm so tired of talking about this. That will just not happen. So you will find mentors galore. But yeah, you kind of have to put yourself out there and go and meet them on their own turf.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter what kind of kink we're talking about, whether it's the leather community or spankos or hypnosis or whatever else. Sex nerds love to nerd out.
Absolutely.
Of that. What about, so I know we had several people who were very into rope play on the show a couple of months ago, and they would talk a lot about kind of beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels or layers to that, and what you should probably start with, and then kind of where you go from there. Is there a similar kind of thought process, either leather culture or SM?
So one of the things that I see far too often is someone finds a leather community and then, I want to master right now. Hey, you look cool. Will you collar me? And don't do that. Like, take your time. So there are, and I'm getting more into MS than leather specific now, but a lot of times there are different levels of collars. So if you're a submissive, or if you're a master, if you're a slave or a master, you don't have to go right to a permanent collar with someone you just met at the munch last week. That's highly unadvisable. You can have collars of consideration, training collars, all of that before you get to a permanent collar. And you're calling someone master and you're in a total power exchange relationship with them. I would just take your time is the thing that I would say to anyone new to the lifestyle. Learn as much as you can, meet as many people as you can, vet thoroughly anyone that you're going to play with, anyone that you're thinking of entering a relationship dynamic with, vet them thoroughly, get their background, meet people who know them, peers, not just people who are in their leather family, but actual peers outside of the community, and ask, hey, this person is interested in me. Tell me what it's like. Tell me what they're like. What is their relationship to the community? And I feel safer personally with someone who is actively involved in the community. If someone says, hey, I'm leather, but I never go to munches, I never go to public play parties, I never go to events, I just do it in my house. That's cool, whatever. But it's a red flag for me because it makes it very difficult for me to vet you then. And I'm going to wonder, especially if they're talking negatively about the community and they're saying, oh, I don't go because of the politics. Usually the politics is somebody found out that you're an asshole. So
Right?
That's the politics normally that they're talking about. Is that yeah, be wary of all of that and just take your time is the thing that I would say.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. I want to call I want to adopt that phrase that the politics is that someone found out you were an asshole. That's amazing. And kind of along those same lines. So the idea of having this body of knowledge and coming into a community that probably has their own kind of ethical standards and structures. I noticed that for the most part, like you said before, consent is huge in the BDSM community as a whole. In kink communities, it is much safer to have sex and to enter into these kinds of relationships with people because that is the bias for communication and for enthusiasm and for making sure that everybody is being safe, which ultimately I found to be so cathartic. Because my whole life growing up in like purity culture in a very Christian household, I was taught, oh, sex is bad. You don't talk about it. And this is the one way you get to do it. And this is the one reason you do it. And no one's supposed to talk about it. You just will know. And if it's meant to be, you'll be good at it without any kind of training or practice or anything. And then you'll have babies and that's it. And that's essentially all I was taught. And so being able to enter into a community that not only acknowledges that, hey, sex can be fun and we can talk about it and experiment and explore together, but also I'm going to make sure that your boundaries are being respected and that I'm taking care of you emotionally and I'm checking in with you and there's consent there for every action and everything that we're doing. And we're going to talk about it afterwards and plan for next time. And it's such a breath of fresh air. And so the fact that it's looked at as somehow like riskier or dangerous or like somehow dirtier is just so weird to me. But also I'm wondering, sorry, that was a little bit of a rant. I'm wondering, are there any ethical considerations specifically for leather that might not be in other communities? Anything in terms of, I read somewhere that you're not supposed to touch other people's equipment. Like if someone else is like has something on them, you don't go over and like touch it or take it. Like these small kind of like courteous things.
Yeah. So basically, what I always tell people is everything you learned about respect and manners from your grandmother and grandfather, if you bring that into the leather community, you'll pretty much be okay. Because that's what it is. You don't go up and touch other people's property, and that includes the person with a collar around their neck. They are somebody's property. So you don't touch their toy bags, you don't touch them without permission. Consent is all inclusive. It applies to everything. I wrote a piece on FetLife years back about how if I haven't seen someone in months, I don't just walk up and hug them because I don't know. They may be in a new dynamic where I need to ask their dominant or their master or whatever for permission to touch them. And so I don't just assume that because last time I saw them 4, 5, 6, 7 months ago, it was okay to walk up and hug them. I still ask. I still walk up and I go, is it okay if I hug you? And they would look at me crazy, like, oh, of course. But I'm going to ask because I would want the same respect in return. So there are those little things. I'll tell you, I was at a swinger event where they had opened it to the kink community, and they were attempting to kind of mix the two communities. And while I was playing, or actually I was done playing, I was doing other fun activities at that time, and but my toys were still out, and I looked over while I was in the middle of those other fun activities, and I saw someone going through my toy bag, and I had to stop and correct them. And it's just a difference between the two cultures / communities. The swinger community, it seems to be okay. They aren't to just walk up and touch people. You would not do well doing that at a leather event. That would not be something that you would want to do. It's basically take everything you learned about being respect and just take it to that next level. And we talked about things that people don't think of when they think of leather, and that degree of respect and manners and things like that is something that they don't immediately think of when they think of leather, but it's a big part of for us. Respect, manners, etiquette, protocol, that it's a big part. It's a big thing for us.
Well, this has been probably one of my favorite episodes this year, honestly. I feel like we're going out on a high note here. Thank you so much, Rath, for joining us tonight and walking us through this amazingly rich and impactful culture that I honestly didn't know very much about until this last week, and I'm definitely going to be checking out more in the weeks to come. Mm-hmm. How can people find you? This is your chance to plug anything you're working on or direct our viewers to any of your social media.
Mm-hmm. So I am Master Rath Daddy on FetLife. So if you're on FetLife, you can send me a friend request. I do ask that you shoot me a message first, a direct message, letting me know who you are and why you want to be my friend, because I don't just randomly accept friend requests. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, Heartland Personal Leather 2019. And then on Facebook, Magister Ray Pater. And that's because they wouldn't let me write Master Rath Daddy, so I wrote it in Latin.
Take that. Take that, Facebook. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, and then I have a few books out. 400 Days of Oppression is probably one of the harder reads, but if you're up for a lesson in BDSM and the history of Black Americans in this country, then I would recommend 400 Days of Oppression. If you just want a nice, fun, sexy read, then Fight for Me is a good one as well. All right.
I love it. Can we get those links in the description as well, Christy?
Oh, no question.
Awesome.
Cool. All right.
All right. Can we get a crew cam shot? We want to thank everybody who's been making this work behind the scenes today. Oh, yay. Favorite people, Greg, Katie, Rachel, and those two little blue dots. We love y'all. Thank you so much for making this work. Y'all are so sexy. All right. And a reminder for you guys, we are going to be doing a little bit of a fun, different thing the last couple weeks of the year to make sure that our crew and our cast and everyone gets a little bit of a break for the holidays, but we don't leave you hanging without good content. So keep an eye on that. We should be announcing exactly what that's going to look like next week. But we've got some fun stuff in the works that I'm super excited about. All right. Well, I think I'm going to try my hand at this outro, Christy, if that's all right with you. Let's
jump right in there.
All right. Well, thank y'all for joining us. And as always, if you're feeling up to it, if this conversation got y'all hot and bothered, feel free to go out and give yourself a big old orgasm. Or better yet, give somebody else one.
Give somebody else one.